defined as a being that nothing greater can be conceived. God is defined as a being that there is nothing greater than Him that can be conceived. I'm going to think about God, and I'm going to say, okay, if I'm going to have a concept of God, He's got to be the greatest thing I can think of. There can be nothing greater than Him. He has to be the greatest thing I can see. I can conceive. You can't think of anything greater, so He needs to be that perfect being. That's number one. Number two, He either exists in our understanding or our mind, or in both understanding and reality. Let me explain what I mean by that. You ever paint a painting? You ever draw a picture? Well, did you have in mind what you were going to draw before you drew it? You sat down with a piece of paper and said, I'm going to draw a cat. And you didn't just start scribbling on the paper and go, oh look, it looks like a horse. I think I'll draw a horse. I mean, you might do that, I guess, but most of you sit down and say, I'm going to draw a cat. And so you start drawing a cat. You picture in your mind what you think the cat ought to look like, and now you're going to try to put it on paper. Okay? The cat you were going to draw went from being in your mind and in your understanding to being in reality because you put it on paper. A painting by a famous painter. He sits down and says, I want it to look like this. I'm going to use these colors. And he gets out the perfect brushes, and he gets the perfect size canvas. And he has in his mind the understanding of something, and he says, this is what I want it to look like. And he begins to work on it, and it goes from his mind, his understanding, to reality. Now, how in the world does that apply to God? Well, you can sit here and say, let's suppose God exists. What would He be like? And you could say, okay, He's going to be the greatest possible being ever. There can be nothing greater than Him. He's going to be the greatest I can think of, and He's going to be that perfect being. And I've created that in my mind. But is He just God in your mind? Or is He God in reality? Is He really God in reality? For you see, number three is, it's greater to exist in reality than it is to exist in understanding. So, number four, if God exists only in understanding, then He isn't the greatest possible being. Because you see, if there's a God in reality, He's greater than the God in my mind. If I'm going to really have the greatest possible being, then He's got to be in reality as well as in understanding. Because if He's just in understanding, then He's not the greatest possible being. Because I thought of Him. I'm greater than Him because I thought of Him. Well, that doesn't work. I need Him to be bigger than that, and He needs to be in reality because of that. So, God is defined as the greatest possible being. And if that's true, then God, therefore, exists both in understanding and reality. And I told you this one was tougher. I told you this one was tougher, but let's look at Romans chapter 11 for a moment and see if we can get a little better concept of this based on what we see here. Romans chapter 11. Paul, in writing this portion of Romans, is actually pulling some verses of Scripture out of the Old Testament to make his point. And this is what he says in verse 33 and following. Oh, the depth of the riches and wisdom and knowledge of God. How unsearchable are His judgments, and how inscrutable His ways. For who has known the mind of the Lord, or who has been His counselor? Or who has given a gift to Him that He might be repaid? For from Him and through Him and to Him are all things. To Him be glory forever. Amen. Some would say to you, God's just your crutch that gets you through life. God's just your crutch. You feel like you're not capable of doing things, and you can't get through things, and you can't deal with death, and you can't deal with your sickness, and you can't deal with your inabilities, and so you create God to make yourself feel better. That's a God of understanding. But is God just a God of understanding, or is He a God greater than that? God is greater than my thoughts. God is greater than our combined thoughts. God is a being who is greater than us by far. And His mind can't be traced out. His ways can't be figured out by us. He is more than what we can ever come up with. That's the ontological view of God. Now, how do you swallow that one? I want you to ask yourself the realistic question. Did you come up with God, or did God come up with you? Did you come up with God, or did God come up with you? Did you invent God because you just need something? Or did God make you because He wanted to? Is God's thoughts and ways beyond ours, or is it just purely and simply something we make up in our mind? Now, I need to finish with this. Those are three different ways that people look at God. Cosmology and teleology make a lot of sense to me. I'm a more practical person. I need to be able to see something and understand it because of that. And that's a big portion of the reason for why we're studying what we're studying. Christian evidences, things that I need so that I might believe. And I think cosmology and teleology do a lot of that. I see God at work in my life, in your life, in the life of our church, in our world around us, and I believe in Him because of that. I see His design, and I believe in that. Now, the study of ontology, that's a great one too, but boy, that makes my head swim. But it is a very strong and viable way to believe in God. But I need to dive into this before we finish. Evolution. You see, we're talking about how the world came to be, how we believe the world came to be, that God exists and that then He made us. Others would say that there's a form of evolutionary creationism, that things evolved, things developed. It started as a one-celled animal, or even before that, it started as the primordial ooze. And then it progressed from there over billions of years into you and me and the complex world that we see. Now, I ask you this though, be objective for a moment. Do we as Christians deny the simple idea of evolution? What do you think? No, we don't deny the simple idea of evolution. My friends, it's happening every day. All right? Rob, on the end of your hand that you use for playing the guitar. David, on the end of your hand that you use for playing guitar. What is developed on the end of your fingers? Calluses. We all have calluses from playing guitar at the ends of our fingers. I can pretty much touch something with the end of those fingers and not get burned because the callus is so thick. All right? That, my friends, those little calluses right there are evidences of evolution. My body changing to adapt to my environment. I don't deny simple evolution. That's a fact. But my friends, I'm not just talking about simple evolution. I'm talking about evolutionary creationism, or what we would call Darwinism. I would prefer to call it Darwinism. We talk about the theory of evolution. Evolution is not really, in its simplest form, a theory. It's a fact. But is evolutionary creationism or Darwinism, is that a theory? Yes, a theory without a proof. Is all evolution evil? No. No, not all evolution is evil, but we must make that distinction between simple evolution and Darwinism. Now, let me give you this. Letter D. I want to talk for just a moment, one simple idea to go with that. The second law of thermodynamics. All right? JR, listen to that. Do you hear what I'm talking about? The second law of thermodynamics. Sounds pretty complicated, doesn't it? It's not really. Okay? You guys back there, all of you, you littler ones, I want you to get this, because I think this is a tremendous help in our evidence for Christianity in a fight against Darwinism. The second law of thermodynamics, Thermodynamics, thermodynamics. The second law of thermodynamics, it's called the law of entropy. Now these are physical laws of the universe we cannot refute. No one can. The second law of thermodynamics, which is called the law of entropy, this is what this says. Everything, if given time, will decay and get worse, not improve. Now, the law of thermodynamics itself has several different parts. But this second law of thermodynamics, the law of entropy, it says everything given time will decay, not improve. If we leave all of this food out here for the next 3 weeks, will it all of a sudden become a Thanksgiving dinner? The law of physics teaches us what's going to happen to that food. It's going to spoil, it's going to rot, it's going to mold, it's going to get nasty, because what's it going to do? It's going to decay when given time. Your automobile that you came here in, your car, your truck, your van, let's say where you leave it out back of this building for the next 1,000,000 years. And when we leave it there for 1,000,000 years, your truck is going to become a Hummer. Your Pontiac is going to become a Cadillac. Okay? Your Ford is going to become a Lamborghini. Okay? Is that going to happen? Oh, maybe 1,000,000 years wasn't long enough. Let's give it 90 million years. Will it happen? Let's give it 1,000,000,000 years. Will it happen? Will that happen? Based on the law, the second law of thermodynamics, the law of entropy, will that happen? No. Because a law of science tells us that given time, anything in nature, anything if given time will decay, not improve. What does Darwinism, on the other hand, teach you? The exact opposite. What's that? It's going to get better. If we give things time through the survival of the fittest and so on and so forth, things are going to get better. They're going to improve. Can they change? Sure. Will they change into something new that becomes something new that becomes something new? No. The law of entropy teaches us that's not possible. So when you have someone struggling with Darwinism and whether to believe it or not, ask them that. Have them study the law of entropy. And that alone defeats the teachings of Darwinism. Well, let's finish with this. Letter E. No matter what you believe, and maybe you're here tonight as someone who says, you know what, my mom and dad believe in God, or other people around me believe in God, my spouse believes in God, but I'm just not buying all that stuff. Okay? Or maybe you're here as one who says, yes, I believe in God, I just want some more background, some more beef to my faith. I tell you this, no matter what you believe, it all comes down to faith. It all comes down to faith. Someone who believes that Darwinism is the cause of our universe, they have to believe that's true. Somebody who says, well, you know what? I don't think the world really has a cause. The world's just always been there. The world is the cause. The world's always been there, and it's just the cause for everything. Okay? They have to believe that. You and I, most all of us, I think, believe that God is the cause for all things. He is the great cause. But we have to believe that. One of the books that I would have brought tonight and would have held up and showed you and suggested to you is a book that, it's another one I've lent to somebody and I don't know where it went. But it's a book by Geisler and Turek, two great thinkers. The book is called I Don't Have Enough Faith to Be an Atheist. And the whole idea of the book is they go into some very deep things about science and philosophy and so on, and show to us that, you know what, if you really want to be an atheist, if you really want to leave God out of the picture, then you got to have a whole lot more faith than a Christian does. My friends, it really comes down to what you believe. Do you believe that you're just a feather floating on a breeze, as Forrest Gump would tell us? I'm just a feather floating on a breeze? Or do you believe that everything in your life has a reason? That God is that reason and He's that cause? Even the youngest among us, even the youngest ones among us, need to be able to say to themselves, why do I exist? Jocelyn, you need to be able to say, why am I here? Emily, you guys, you need to say the same thing. Baker kids back there, same thing. Jake, you too. All of you as adults, all the way up to our oldest of adults, you need to be able to say, why am I here? My friends, you're going to find a lot of theories when you take a look around. A lot of people with a lot of explanations. But you got to know this. There is absolutely no perfect proof to any of it. I so wish I could reach up into the sky and pull down a hunk of God and say, here he is. Here's the reason. Here's the evidence. Believe that. Take that with you, and that'll prove to you for the rest of your life that there is a God. I wish I could do that. But no one anywhere can do that with any of our theories and ideas. I'm just going to look around the world and see what's causing it to happen. And I believe it's God. I'm going to look at the design of our world and see how intricate it is and know that it's just not possible for it to have randomly happened. I believe that it's God who made that design. And when I look at myself and who I am and what I think, I get to realizing there's got to be something greater than me. And I believe it's God. I hope tonight as you go home that's something you'll contemplate. Parents who are here, I hope you'll spend some time talking about this with your kids, talking about the simple idea of God being real and God working in your life. I hope that you're pointing that out to yourself and to your family as much as you can. Where do you see God working? How do you see His design? How do you see Him interacting with you? And I think we can find some pretty solid reasons to believe in God. My friends, thanks so much for being here tonight. Next time we study, as I said, we're going to talk about the omnipotence, the omnipresence, and the omniscience of God. That's God's all-powerfulness, God's ability to be everywhere, and God's ability to know everything. This is what I want you to study. Here's your homework. It's pretty simple, but your homework for the next time is read Psalm 139. Read Psalm 139 and see what the psalmist is telling you about the characteristics of God, how God is working in your world. Hope you'll invite somebody to come back with you. Maybe you've got a friend that's skeptical about these things, and we will be as kind as we can be in that circumstance to bring them and tell them that we're not going to throw bricks at them or anything. We would love for them to study that. Psalm 139 will be what we look at next time. Thank you so much. Now, between now and then, we will discuss in the next 2 weeks what we're going to do for food. I kind of have an idea, I think, of generally how many people are going to come. We'll put together a plan for that and be ready for our next time. Any thoughts or questions that you might have, please come see me afterwards. And I appreciate so much you being here. Let's close out with a word of prayer. Brother Gary, would you mind to pray for us? We'll have Gary pray, and then we'll dismiss.
Father in heaven, we thank you for your good and perfect word and for the perfect example that Christ gives us. Father, we just know that through your promises and through the evidences that we see in our lives and around us that truly you are God. Father, we love you and thank you for the grace that we have through Jesus. In his precious name I pray. Amen.
Thanks, guys.
That silver pan, but not the spatula. That green work. Yeah. I know. This one. I know. Okay. It does look like
Set that down.
too hot to.
See you guys. Thank you, Lord. You doing all right?
Yeah.